thought to yourself, where did my money just go? I got paid last week. Why is there $5 in my checking account? Well, I have. So back in 2016, I landed my first full-time job, and I was so happy to be making $50,000 a year. I was like, yes, I have money. And so for a year, I just spent my money. I didn't put anything into savings. I didn't make extra payments to my student loans. I was just living day by day, thinking that, all right, it's fine. If I want it, I got it. Next paycheck will cover whatever I want in those next 2 weeks. But after a full year of doing that, I thought to myself, what did I buy with all that money? I don't have anything to show for it. And even up until this day, the only two things that I can think of where some of that money went is buying my parents a new refrigerator, giving my sister a nice gift for her wedding, but then everything else is, I have no idea what it was, how I spent it. Was it eating out? Was it at CVS? Who knows? It wasn't until the spring of 2017, after working at my full-time job for a year and like a couple months, that I had this light bulb moment where I thought, I need to do better with my money. I want to get rid of my debt. I want to start saving and investing because I can't keep doing this. I had worked a year. I had made $50,000. I needed to have at least something for myself. But the only way that I was going to be able to like achieve any of my financial goals was if I understood where my money was coming in from and how it was flowing out of my life. So that's where tracking my spending started. I started with like a basic Excel sheet, and I'll show you later on. Basic Excel sheet with notes about how any like drastic spending for the week. And it was only supposed to be a 3-month thing, but it turned out to be a 3-year thing because I'm still tracking my expenses. And I think that that's the number one thing that you should do for yourself when you start into this financial journey or, you know, in just building wealth. I think you need to start with understanding where your money goes and where your money is coming from. Because if you don't, then everything is just up in the air, right? Everything is just an idea, a thought, and you have no proof behind those numbers. Okay, I'm not saying that just tracking your expenses and money coming in is going to magically get you to debt freedom. Not what I'm saying. What I mean instead is that tracking your money allows you to understand the flow of it, right? You can see what comes in, what comes out. You're seeing if some areas in your life are getting too much attention or neglected. But what it does overall is that it allows and paints a picture of where your money is going. Because you might think that you know where you're spending money, and you might feel like, oh, you're doing it okay, like it's not a problem for me, but only until you actually put those numbers in do you fully understand if that's the case. It also allows you to make better decisions. Before creating any savings goals, I always tell people, like, you want to track your expenses, track your money at least for 3 weeks. And the reason why I say this is because you want to make informed decisions. You don't want to just say, well, this month my eating out is going to be $60 when usually it's $120. That's cutting it by 50%. And how are you going to do that? You can't change habits quickly, right? You have to gradually get there. So setting unrealistic goals isn't going to make you feel good about them when you don't achieve them. So how do you make better decisions? By really focusing on the numbers and the data that you have to inform the plans that you make in the future. So if 120 is my eating out spending, then I want to keep it at under 100. I'm going to say 100 is the max, and that way it's like you're slowly getting to that goal, right? You're slowly getting to 60 instead of saying like, I'm just going to go I'm going to cut 50% of my eating out because That's it. That's just the magic number. It's not realistic. And finally, my favorite reason for tracking your money is to really see if you're spending within your values, right? If you are practicing what you're preaching, if you are putting your money where your mouth is, all of that becomes clear when you start tracking everything that comes in and out. So a personal example, I say and I support and I want to buy from small POC owned businesses, whether they're online or in person. That is that is one thing that I value. I want to make sure that my money is going to POC owned businesses. But if I track my spending and I realize that all of my money is going to Amazon and I'm buying things that I could get at a different store through Amazon just because of the convenience, then what does that say about me, right? What does that say about my values? Do I value that? Or in fact, do I value ease and speed and everything that comes with the other things? So it really helps you figure out if you are, practicing what you're preaching. Before I started manually tracking my money, I was using different apps that were generating the reports for me that were telling me where my spending was going. But none of my habits had changed. So I was like, okay, these apps aren't working. I'm going to do something else. And that's when I decided to create my own Excel sheet to manually do it myself, because I felt like there was a big difference between just logging into a portal and seeing a nice graph or some numbers and tables with your spending and actually going in there and having to enter that information yourself, right? I think that your mindset has a different understanding because you're feeling accountable to actually putting that money in there, and then you have to feel that feeling of having spent that money when you enter it. So I know there's so many apps out there now, even in the 3 years that it's been since I started my tracking money project, but I feel that at least for a couple of months or even a few weeks, if you don't want to do 2 months, you should do it manually to really understand and feel that money that is coming in and going out. With that, I'm going to introduce you to the tracker that I first started using, but also the one I'm using now and one that could be available for you for free. I have a link to it below, but seriously, if you are just trying to get started, tracking your spending is the way to go. But let's go and show you how to do that. All right, let's first start with the 2018 daily expense tracker. So this baby is my first tracker. As you can see here, this is June 2017. This is May 2017. Very basic. Just put in the days of the month, the actual days, and then just started adding money. I went and I did it. Started in May. I did some 2018 goals. Never filled this out, huh? And I did my spending commitments. See, I have what I was even spending here. So I thought, I was contributing to my Roth. Awesome. I was going to yoga. Interesting. Okay, see, I was preparing for a rent payment. And then I continued on. Let's see if this changed at all. Yeah, and it's got everything. But that was my first tracker. That was my first spreadsheet. Now we're moving on to 2020's tracker. So this is one that I shared with my Instagram followers and my email list. And basically this is just a free tracker that I provide. And you will be able to access it as well in the link in my bio. But just to kind of go through each tab, this info tab gives you a breakdown of everything. So if you want more understanding of what my categories mean, I kind of gave you a little explanation behind each. A year in review tab, it helps you set monthly financial goals. You can review it at the end of the month. Monthly tabs, it's basically giving you a breakdown of what you need to do here. You just put in your manual expenses. Adding your own gives you any information that you might have on how to add your own category. And then I have screenshots. So in your categories section, these are categories that I created Obviously, if you feel like you want to change the terminology, that is something that you can do on your own. So when you get access to this tracker, you just want to go to File and make a copy, because this is not going to be editable for you. But the housing, transportation, all these are categories that fit my life, so I put them in there. The year in review is my favorite because it allows you to see after, each month, or like while you're adding money to a month, it generates the amount and it lets you see like, okay, in January I spent significantly more than in July. Why is that? And so then you can break it down to the different categories. So like, was groceries more? All of that. And then I'm going to show you an example here. So this is what it looks like filled out, just to kind of give you an idea of what it should look like. Obviously, you would fill it out in the month that you're spending the money. So let's look at the example. Okay, so I start with a budget breakdown. This is something that came through because a lot of, people were asking me for a budget area in the expense tracker. They wanted to see, what like they can plan ahead. So I added this in here. I don't typically use a budget, but I do put in like what I expect to spend and what I actually end up spending. So this is even helpful for me, somebody who doesn't use a budget. So the income section, this is just where you put anything that comes in. So you'll see that I had a little $20 bill that I found on the street, and I put that in there because you know what? That's money that flows into your life. So yep, definitely put that $20 bill in there. But this could be your, birthday gift or your paycheck at your 9 to 5, but also your paycheck from your side hustle. All of this needs to be reflected on your income. This is just your fixed expenses, so things that are going to be the same amount every month. Variable expenses, things that you're going to spend on every month, but that they might change. We have your savings and investing. What are your savings goals? Put that in here. Like how, have you reached those yet? Then we have discretionary expenses. This is the stuff that will change and, maybe you might not have a category for it every month. And then we have a summary. So that's just the income, the money that you made, and the money that you spent here. Oh, but also this category breakdown here allows you to see it in this format if that was easier than what I'm going to show you down here. So here we go into the daily breakdown. So every day you can come in here and update your numbers, or you can do this once a week on the whole week that just passed. So it depends on what you want to do it, how often you want to do it, but also like if, it's easier for you to just sit down one day a week for 20 minutes to do and look at your past expenses. For me, I typically do it the same day I spend it, just so it doesn't add up. And so you'd put the amount and you'd select the category. These are based on the categories up here. So for that, we're going to change that to transportation. And when we do that, just notice the green, the light green on the right in the pie chart jump. So you see? Now it looks like it's all transportation, but let's change that back to housing and then you'll see that. So this pie chart is directly reflected on what the numbers are here. So that'll help you look at it visually. If you're a visual person, you can see like what the color is and what it, what category it falls under. So it's clear that housing is really where the money went this month. And you would just do that every month. I have a January, February, and these would generate in your year in review. But yeah, that is just a pretty basic template for you to use. Definitely easy. There's a breakdown here. I also put in my email if you have any questions, but that is the now expense tracker that I use in 2020. But this is where I started. That's my money tracker. It might look intimidating, but truthfully, if you just read the info tab and you play around with it for a bit, I think it'll be pretty intuitive. Of course, if you want to go into the apps, there are a lot out there that can get you started. But the point is, don't procrastinate. Start tracking your expenses so you can make more informed decisions. You can understand where your money is going, but also you can spend along with your values. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I am here to answer all of them. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel for any updates on new videos. And I'll see you later. Bye.